Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salamu ala Sayyid al-Anbiya wal Mursaleen. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. So inshallah, like Brother Muhammad introduced, inshallah I'm just going to share some wisdom, some lessons that I learned from the class today with our Shaykh. Alhamdulillah. And we talked about maqasid. Maqasid basically means the underlying objectives behind something. Basically, maqasid means the reason why you're doing something. So in Islam, we have maqasid. And the point of the maqasid in Islam is it shows us the underlying principles behind what we do or behind what we're doing. For example, you just prayed. And if you do not understand why you're praying, then there's no point to the prayer. So in fiqh, you have to understand why you're doing what you're doing. And before I talk about that, inshallah, I just wanted to introduce just some basic knowledge that you should know about fiqh before you go into maqasid. There's different levels in fiqh. I think we've all heard these terms. You have first, fard or wajib. Generally speaking, this means the same thing. So basically what this means is something that is mandatory. Then we have under that, mustahab. Then under that, we have mubah. Then under that, we have makruh. Then under that, we have haram. I think we've all heard these terms being used throughout our lives. Everybody knows haram. Haram means what? Can you do it or not? No, you can't do it. If it's fard, do you have to do it? Yes. If it's mubah, what does that mean? Mubah means permissible, yes. So it's not inherently good or bad, and actually dependent on your intention. For example, if you're walking to the masjid, is that something good? Yes, so now that becomes mustahab. For example, if you're walking to, astaghfirullah, a bad place, now that walking becomes haram. So actually when it comes to mubah, the action itself is neutral, but depending on your intention, it can actually change. So you can get a reward or punishment depending on the action. That's just a brief introduction. Then we have sources when it comes to fiqh. So our Shaykh mentioned to us that there are primary sources. Everybody knows we have Quran, we have Sunnah, then we have ijma'. Ijma' means the consensus, the agreement of all of the scholars, or perhaps it was the ijma' of all of the companions. And then after that you have qiyas. Qiyas is like the analogy. And there's secondary sources as well, and I don't want to bore everybody and get into all the details, inshallah. But now to the actual topic of the night. Our Shaykh introduced to us maqasid. So like I mentioned before, maqasid means the underlying principle. It means to know why you're doing something. So in Islam, and specifically in the field of fiqh, in jurisprudence, we have different levels of maqasid. And the first level that we talked about today was it's called al-maqasid al-wajibah, which means this is the principles in fiqh that must happen. Right? These are the most important principles in fiqh. And so the Shaykh mentioned to us 5 principles. And these are principles that are derived directly from the Quran. And the Shaykh quoted us the ayat, but just for time's sake, we don't have time, inshallah. But the Shaykh quoted us, this is directly from the Quran. And it was the great Imam Ash-Shatibi, rahimahullah, who was perhaps one of the first and the most famous to document this. So there's 5 maqasid that are wajib. They're the highest level. So the first one, and they're all, when it comes to these maqasid, they're all in order to protect something. Okay. So the first one is hifdud deen. The first principle, underlying principle behind everything you do in terms of the fiqh is to protect your deen. That's the first thing. And the Shaykh gave us, and this is of course from the Quran and the Sunnah as well, the principle is al-amru bil-ma'ruf wa-nahy 'anil munkar. It's to command or to enjoin what is good and to forbid what is evil. This is what it means when you say that we must protect our deen. And the Shaykh also mentioned the example of da'wah. For example, if you are seeing someone that is worshipping an idol or someone that is committing shirk, there is an obligation upon you to make da'wah to that person. So that is an example of protecting our deen. So that's number 1. And I'm going to quiz everybody, inshallah. So please, you have to remember everything, inshallah. Number 2 is to protect the nafs. Protect the soul. So what this means, when you say protect the nafs, it means that the underlying principle in Islam is that we do not harm or kill ourselves or others. Right? So we do not harm ourselves. It's haram to harm yourself. It's haram to kill yourself. Likewise, it's also haram to harm other people. It's haram to kill other people. This is one of the principles. This is the second one that I'm going to mention for the night, inshallah. And this is why it's also mentioned in the fiqh that, for example, if you kill somebody, you are supposed to pay the qisas, right? The retribution as well. So there are components set in the religion, in the fiqh, to protect the nafs, to protect the soul, because the soul is sacred. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that to take one soul is as if you took all of mankind, right? And to save one soul is as if you save all of mankind. And then the third one is to protect the aql. So this is the third. What was the first? To protect the deen. Okay, what was the second one? Okay, what is the third one? I just said it right now. Aql, yes. The third one is to protect the aql. And actually some scholars said that the third one is to protect the lineage. But we'll just say there's two opinions. So we'll just go with the aql for now. The third one is to protect the aql. What is the aql? Does anybody know? Okay, that's a good. Any other definitions? One of you kids. What is aql? He gave you a hint? Yeah, okay. Okay, we can say it. Let's call the aql intellect. But these are all valid definitions. So the third principle is to protect the aql. It's to protect the mind, right? And so this is the third one. So now we have three, okay? And inshallah, so the first one is to protect the deen. The second one is to protect the nafs. The third one is to protect the aql. Now the second one is to protect money. The fourth one, is to protect money. So, and if you study the books of fiqh, if you study mu'amalat, which means how you deal with other people, you'll learn how to deal with money in Islam, right? Because the fiqh encompasses everything in your life. So you're not just going to be Muslim when you enter the masjid, you're Muslim everywhere you go. So one of the points of that is that Islam shows you how to deal with your money. So Islam protects the money. So Islam tells you, the fiqh tells you, that you have to return money back on time when you borrow it. For example, the Quran encourages you to record these transactions or these contracts, record them, write them down. And this wasn't something that was the norm back then, if you think about it. SubhanAllah, Islam was very revolutionary in the fact that it encouraged people to write down their transactions and their contracts. And as well, Islam tells us, the fiqh tells us, do not deal in what's haram. Keep your money away from what's haram. And as well, do not harm others with your money. And as well, give money to people that need it. Right? So that's number 4. Okay. Then number 5. This is the last one, inshallah, and then we're done. The last one is to protect the lineage. Okay? The last one is to protect the lineage. And like I mentioned, some scholars said that the 5th one is actually the aql. But we'll just say the 5th one is to protect the lineage. Now, how does Islam protect the lineage? Can anybody give me an example? Okay, yes, mashallah, that was very good. Any other examples? Yes, exactly. That was it. Or there's more of those that could be mentioned, but that's basically the gist of it, yes. So Islam tells you not to do what's haram, instead it tells you to do what's halal, right? Do not commit zina or do not have anything outside of marriage, rather get married and inshallah everything will be much easier. So this is the 5th one. And also, I mean, we're living in America as well. This is a perfect example of the people that you see, they're not married. And then what happens? The father immediately leaves when the woman is pregnant. Right? How many single father homes are there? And now the child grows up in a terrible environment. And now the child is set up for failure. And then what happens? Actually, subhanAllah, apparently, I remember reading this somewhere, that most children, or like a decent amount of children that are born in teen pregnancies, tend to have a child while they're also a teen. So subhanAllah, it just gets even worse as it continues. But Islam is here to prevent that. So Islam tells you have to protect the lineage. You have to maintain the family. Okay, kids, remember this. You have to maintain the family. There has to be a baba and a mama and the kids. Okay? Inshallah. So those are the 5. I'm going to quiz everybody. Can we go through them again? What is number 1? Protect the deen. Okay, what is number 2? Okay, what is number 3? Okay, what is number 4? Okay, what is number 5? Okay, can anybody give it to me backwards? Okay, go. Okay. Mhm. Mhm. Yes. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Can we get takbir for him? Allah Akbar. Jazakallah khairan. That's basically just the gist of it, inshallah. Just know that the fiqh is very beautiful. The fiqh has a lot of principles, underlying principles. There is purpose behind everything you're doing. The ibadah is not just physical, it's spiritual as well. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to reflect upon what we hear and allow us to apply that which we listen to. Jazakallah khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.